On live radio, the Green Station, wherever you're catching us from this morning. Delighted to have you listening to live radio. And remember that Live Issues is a program that comes your way on this very radio station twice a week. We have the first edition on Tuesday between 9 o'clock all the way to 10:30 hours, as well as on Thursday, we make a return pretty much the same time space. I'm your host, Eugene Lungu, for the next 1 hour, 30 minutes or so to discuss a number of pertinent issues that do get to affect the nation, I must add. With that said, let me get to introduce my guest this morning, who is no stranger on this very platform, and it's always good to have him back to discuss important issues that border on the general populace, that affects each and everybody that is listening this morning. I have the president of the Economic Front Party, Comrade Wynter Kabimba, is my guest today to help us discuss a number of issues that we'll be looking at. Good morning, and delighted to have you here, President.
Good morning, Eugene, and good morning, dear listeners.
I trust you are well.
I'm good, thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
How is the party doing?
We are okay.
Mm-hmm.
We are okay as a party.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been talking to our district chairman in Pemba.
Right.
It shows that the party is alive and kicking.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Just to kickstart our discussion, we'll be looking at governance generally, I must add, and
or misgovernance.
Well, I don't know how we would describe that, but governance is what we'll be discussing generally. And in this case, we're looking at the governance system of the United Party for National Development, who are at the helmet of power right now. Maybe to kickstart off this, I know there's been a lot in the past few weeks, and if not a month ago, with regards to the rule of law, and that coming into conflict with people thinking this is a government that promised that they will rule us, they will uphold the rule of law when ruling us, but it's certainly different to what is pertaining on the ground. I'd love to hear your thoughts on such sentiments as an Economic Front Party. How do you describe the UPND style of rule?
Well, Eugene, the rule of law is a combination of a number of components.
Mm.
Okay, it's a composite phrase.
Right.
It includes fundamentally the principle that everybody is equal before the law.
Right.
That's one of the fundamental principles of the rule of law.
Mm.
The rule of law includes the principle of the presumption of innocence. That you are innocent until you are proven guilty by a tribunal established by law. The rule of law means that you cannot be subjected to arbitrary arrest or detention before investigations are completed. The rule of law involves the respect of the rights of the suspect. The rule of law includes a citizen being subjected or undergoing a fair trial. Right. So it is a composite phrase that involves all these sub-components. And it is disappointing, I'm sure, not only to me, but to many, many citizens in this country, that a man who stood on the ant-hill, screamed to the high heavens that he was unfairly treated under the PF administration, that he was a victim of arbitrary detentions, that he was a victim of arbitrary arrests, and he promised the Zambian people that if he came to power, he would not want any Zambian to undergo what he went through. And yet, it is the complete opposite today. We saw breaches of the fundamentals of the rule of law under PF. We are seeing worse incidents now under the UPND. what is even more disappointing is that HH has decided to turn not only blind ears to this, but even a blind ear and blind eyes and ears. He has completely gone back on his word. What he saw as injustice under PF, he now sees as the things that are justifiable. I don't even have to go through the litany of our citizens that have been subjected to these breaches of the rule of law. You remember incidents sometime last year when people were being bundled up from Lusaka, driven all the way to a place, a remote place like Shangombo, because some UPND cadre has reported them to the police in Shangombo. Until it became so embarrassing to the UPND itself that Cornelius Mwetwa, as party spokesperson, had to say, this has to come to an end. Now, if it came to an end because the party spokesperson said so, it meant that it was orchestrated originally by the party itself. We had never seen that kind of thing before. Never. That a person that has been arrested, or a person or a citizen whom the police can send a decent call out, if they want me at the police station, surely they don't have to come at 4 a.m. to my house. They can send me a call out, and they know that I'll submit to the police. So, you ask a very important question, because it goes to the bedrock of governance itself. That's what defines what governance or misgovernance is. So HH has been a big, big letdown to the Zambian people. And this is not even a political statement. It is something that is truthful. It is something that is in the public domain now. That a man that the people of Zambia believed would turn around the injustices that they saw under PF is orchestrating those injustices today, is allowing those injustices to live on.
You spoke of, people being bundled on police vehicles taken to far areas of the country just to go and answer to allegations made by maybe one particular individual who maybe might be, belong to the ruling party as one violation now. Clearly, the side of the UPND has been that those that were doing the wrong, or those that do the wrong things, the institutions that are mandated to investigate is the ones that is at work here, not the UPND at all.
No. I've always said this, that anybody who is going to tell you that the police does not read the mood of those that are in power and they are operating autonomously is telling you a lie. They will be telling you a lie. Anybody that is going to tell you, Eugene, that the police as an institution and the officers in that institution do not read the mood of those that are in power will be telling you a lie. They are very good at reading the mood of those that are in power and how to please the powers that be.
Okay.
Yeah. That I can tell you for a fact.
There's one particular statement which the Inspector General of Police reacted to as we were ending the week last week. IG Rafael Msamba, complained, or rather he issued a statement to say those that are saying that police is denting the image of the UPND because of how it's carrying out its duties are speaking on the on the side of being ignorant, and he was reacting to what UPND National Youth Chairperson Gilbert Lusonizo said when he appeared on Radio Phoenix, Let the People Talk. Because then he was talking about the police brutality that we've seen, that was reported in some past few days or months now, as being, maybe pushed by the government, or the government having a blessing at that brutality that was happening. So there was an exchange of words there. One issued a statement on a media platform, and the other person replied to say, wow, the police is not denting anybody's image when conducting duties.
Look. If there is any institution that is very good at decampaigning a political party, it's the police. That I can tell you for a fact. The police are very good at decampaigning the government in power,
okay,
or the party in power, because they do stupid things. Sorry to use that word. They do things that are outside the civil liberties, the principles of civil liberties of citizens. And like I've said earlier, nobody would believe, not even a fellow in Chaisa here, would believe that the 12 police officers that went, to pick up Emmanuel Mwamba from a car wash, beat him up. I met him recently. I met him, last week. I couldn't even shake his right hand because he's still hurting. He's still nursing injuries in his right hand, right arm. No citizen would believe that that group of officers is not denting the image of the government. Nobody. And nobody would believe that they are not doing that on behalf of the government. So, whereas it was a sad incident, the Emmanuel Mwamba one, which is the most recent, it's very good for the citizens to see what UPND is all about. So, Gilbert Lusonizo was right. He was very right in the observation that he made. And Musamba was wrong. And that's what they always do when they've been appointed. They're very excited. We saw it with Lemi Kajoba. They get very excited, as if achieved for the first time. But the day of reckoning will come. Before that day comes, they would have finished the UPND.
Can we say it's the politicians themselves that tend to make the work of the police hard?
No. What did Emmanuel Mwamba do? What did Emmanuel Mwamba do? They didn't send a call out to him. If the police had said, look, we followed this man, to the car wash, because we sent him a call out, he didn't come. We sent him a second one, he didn't come. We probably sent him the third one, he didn't come. So we had to mount a manhunt. They probably would have had an argument. So what did the poor guy do? What did Edgar Lungu do that they needed to go with grinders, to go and look for one vehicle which they suspected to be at her residence? Why didn't they send her a police call out and say to her, there is a suspected vehicle, registration number X, which we believe is at your residence. Under the following circumstances, there is a complainant over this matter. Please, will you surrender that vehicle to us? Sure, as a decent, law-abiding citizen, she would have done that. So in what way do we as politicians make policy work difficult? We don't.
I meant to ask that based on what has been said when it comes to the police and the government, them pledging allegiance to the government of the day, because it's been for a very long time we've always believed that politicians generally would command the police to do things. We heard that in the previous regime, where the party that is in power right now would complain on the way the police would carry themselves the time they were in the opposition towards them, and it's a continuous discussion that goes on. Each party that forms government, obviously, would want the police to do what they want.
Look, the nature of the state in a third world country is totally different from the characteristics of the state in a developed world.
Right.
Okay? In the developed world, even in a small country like Israel, the police exhibits independence. Eugene, you read, up to now, that there are still cases that are running against former Prime Minister Boris Johnson in London. Because he's been under investigations by the Metropolitan Police in London for having breached COVID rules. Okay? The police called him for an interview, and he has ended up losing his party position purely on account that the man is under investigation. Okay? Prime Minister Netanyahu in Israel has been indicted by the police. You saw him drive, to the police station for the police to go and take a statement from him. It doesn't happen in a third world country. Why? Because the state in a third world country is believed to be synonymous with those that are in power or the person that is at the helm of power. Okay? In a developed country like the United States, the CIA bags the phone of the President of the United States, Joe Biden now. They bag that phone. Why? Because he could be a danger to the state himself. He is not the state. Here, OP will not do that. We don't know who HH talks to. We don't know whether the people that he talks to them in the interest of this nation. They don't do that. So there is a fundamental difference between the state as it operates in a developed country and the way it operates in the third world country. In the third world country, the state is synonymous with those that are in power and the person that is at the helm of power. You only come to learn the wrongdoings of the person who is at the helm of power in a third world country when they are out of power, not when they are in power. In fact, I'll tell you my position myself. I personally believe that even in this constitutional article that the president must enjoy immunity from arrest while in office is not right. It is high time from our experience that it should be removed.
Okay.
Why do we want to continue as a country having somebody in the State House who is a criminal and wait until after 5 years? Why? Why do we want a criminal to continue running the affairs of state of this country for 5 years? Because the article in the Constitution says that he is immune, from any criminal or civil investigations. No. The person that you put in the State House must ensure, he himself or herself must ensure that he is above reproach and that he is law-abiding during that period. He must not be given a moratorium of 5 years to do wrong things. So those are things that cause problems in third world countries.
We get to look at just the few issues that have happened in the past days. One of them was the resignation of the Auditor General, which raised a couple of issues, and there are people that feel that the Auditor General was pushed to that level for him to basically just resign.
So what do you want me to say?
I'd love to get your position as, of course, economic front on that. Is there pressure that was exhibited on the resignation of the Auditor General? Maybe just to...
I'll tell you what I've discovered.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I've discovered. What I've discovered is that Dr. Sichembe was, I think, Accountant General at the Ministry of Finance. And I've spoken to a few people within the Ministry of Finance and outside the Ministry of Finance. And the information we have gathered as EF is that there was a lot of wrongdoing at the Ministry of Finance during that time. A lot of wrongdoing. Somebody was telling me a story of how 6 million kwacha cash was withdrawn and just disappeared. I don't, unless and until Dr. Sichembe proves himself innocent, I will not canvass his case that he has been unfairly treated. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, anybody that has money, for example. So sorry, I'm not, one of the proponents of that school of thought.
We get to something also that raised a bit of talk, and one of issues now that people are thinking. I don't know if this was just, according to the people that are in government today, that was just a stance to win public sympathy, according to them. The briefing that was held by the children to the former president with regards to the treatment they've been given since President Edgar Lungu, the former president, of course, left power. They cried foul that the state is trying them in the general, or should I say, on the media, as opposed to court, and they want to be taken to court to answer to allegations that are being labeled against them before the public.
Yes, I think the issue there is this. Firstly, the Constitution, excuse me, the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia guarantees you and I the right to private property. You have a right to own property in this country under the Zambian Constitution. Okay? And that property cannot be taken away from you without the due process of law. Second point. I think the point that the Lungus were making was this short-circuiting of that process by the DPP. If you recall, that press conference came on the heels of the DPP saying that he had made an application to court without trying, those that owned the property, and he wanted this property forfeited to the state. Now, if you suspect me to be in possession of property that is suspected to be process of crime, under the Zambian Constitution, like I said earlier, I enjoy the right of the presumption of innocence. That I'm innocent until I'm proven guilty. So the way you do it is take me to court, prosecute me. And the way you do it is take a statement from me. I don't have to read about your steps in the media. Of course, we are in a democracy. It is always good that the public knows what is happening to every citizen, but you don't do it in reverse. If you remember, when the DPP took those steps, the lawyer, Makebi Zulu, issued a statement. He said, how can you go to the press before you even save any process, any court documents on us as lawyers, or even on the so-called accused? Okay, so I think there is a bit of excitement also within the DPP's office and the anti-corruption office, over these matters, and that's how that's why they are messing themselves up. That's why we can't see the expected results in this fight against corruption, because you know, I mean, I worked myself, Eugene, in local government. You know, I remember in the 1980-81 Shamana coup, the late Joshua Muzia was DPP. I never heard or saw DPP Joshua Muzia go and hold a press conference that we have arrested Edward Shamana, we are prosecuting, Edward Shamana because he wanted to overthrow the government. And the main DPPs that came, after that, Joshua Muzia, Gregory Piri, the retired judge now. I never saw them in the press. This excitement that we are seeing now from these small boys, every day they want to be in the press. Every day they want to be in the press. Oh my God, that's not how that job is done. Can you give reverence, to that office? Okay? So I think the Lungus have a right to cry foul that if you are going to try them in the court of public opinion, then it means you don't have a case against them. If you have a case against them, you do it quietly, you take them, before, a tribunal established by law, meaning a court of law, go and produce the evidence, and then, away from the DPP's press statements, let the magistrate, make a decision. If they are aggrieved by that decision by the magistrate, that they've got the right to go to the High Court. If they are aggrieved by the decision of the High Court, that they've got the right to go to the Court of the Court of Appeal. If they are still not satisfied with the judgment of the Court of Appeal, that they've got the right to go to the Supreme Court. So why does the DPP want to make himself the alpha and the omega in the criminal justice system? I think that is wrong.
Let's get to some of the sentiments that were also made. I remember, the member of the Patriotic Front, who is also in the race to becoming, in the race to the presidency of the Patriotic Front, Mr. Brian Mundubile. After that particular, briefing from the Lungus there, he issued a statement to say that the UPND, the way they are conducting themselves towards the former president, is like his immunity was lifted already. Can we say that there's a bit of truth in that statement there? With the regards, or maybe the question should be, how is the treatment, towards the former president? Is it sour when it comes to the current president and the former president?
I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I don't know about the nature of the statement. I can only discern that from the circumstantial evidence of what I see. Okay, what I certainly see is that HH is gunning for ECL, no doubt. Okay. I mean, he can't wait to get at him. Okay? He can make any statement, that no, I'm not after Edgar Lungu. His officials can say no, he's not after. The truth of the matter is that the man is traveling at a high speed on this road of vengeance against Edgar Lungu. ECL locked him up at Mukobeko for a silly offense which he himself committed in Mongo. Okay? For a silly offense which he committed, to excite people, to show people in Mongo that he was very popular. And he wanted, to block the presidential motorcade. And I said it, on many programs, that if it were in other countries, HH would have been shot dead that day. by the security people, because he was risking the life of a head of state. So he does something silly himself, and now he turns around to be vengeful against the action that was taken against him. The difference, that the position that I took at that time was that what he did was not reasonable.
Right.
Okay? And I made that statement when ECL was still in office. I said, yes, what has happened is silly, but this is not treason. I still went ahead to pay him a visit, in prison. Not because he hadn't done something wrong, but because he was a colleague in the opposition. So there's no doubt that the man is still bitter from that experience. So all this thing about the Lungus is targeted at ECL at the end of the day. So he has to harass his children, he has to harass his wife, and stress the man, and that kind of thing. But you see, what is really saddening is that HH has more important problems on his hands than ECL. He has more important things. The people here in the Chipata compound are going hungry. They don't care about ECL. As far as they are concerned, he's already out of power. What they want is for him to deal with issues of their bread and butter. This morning, there's a contingent of police officers on the streets in town to throw out the street vendors. Those street vendors are not the problem. They are a symptom of a collapsed economy. An economy which he promised to come and fix. They are doing that because they want jobs from him. And he promised them jobs. So my view is that he has much more important thing that should be keeping him awake at night, and not ECL. Even assuming that he locked up ECL tomorrow, how will that improve the kwacha dollar rate? How will that feed the people of Chawama? How will that reduce the price of fuel in this country? How in God's name would the locking up of ECL just turn around this economy overnight? So if he wants to listen to an independent piece of advice, is Bwana, if ECL has done something wrong, the law will catch up with him. And you are not the police officer. Leave that to the police. In the meantime, get on with the business that the Zambian people voted you for.
Let's look at previously. I know that, I don't know, maybe this is a Zambian way or the African way that when, a leader leaves power, there's the issue of following them up based on what they did when they were at the helmet of power. We'll talk about, what happened during the MMD Chiluba Mwanawasa scenario. Let's talk about also Rupia Banda, the late, Michael Chilufesat as well. How do we change that going forward in our political dispensation?
We change that, Eugene, by what I said earlier. Let's remove the article that allows a sitting head of state to be immune from any criminal investigations or even prosecution until they get out of power. I think we have learned now from the past. Okay? And I can tell you that article also has a historical context because we inherited it from the colonial era. Okay? As you know, in the United Kingdom, the Queen is the head of state. The Prime Minister is head of government. And because the Queen is not involved, or the King now, King Charles III, is not involved in politics, he is given, that infallibility that he can't do anything wrong. Okay? But now we have learned that in fact you can commit an offense while you are seated in the State House. My argument, I go back to it again, is we should not wait for 5 years. We should be able to submit that person to the police. So, I was Minister of Justice who moved a motion in Parliament against RB for the lifting of his immunity. And I don't apologize for it, I don't regret, because we had evidence that RB had done something wrong while he was the head of state. And we wanted him answerable. I can tell you that it was not malicious. We didn't sit in a corner with Michael Sat and I, and tried to connive against, RB. That's not my character. But when PF came into power under ECL, the same people that voted for that motion turned around and voted against it. Okay. Meaning they didn't believe in what they were voting for. That surprised me. But obviously, they exchanged the vote because I'm told the arrangement was that RB made the ECL win in Eastern Province. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, that was their time. But we need to get this thing resolved. And the way we get around it is that if you are head of state, we hear that you are doing something wrong at community house, the police must be able to call you and take a statement from you.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, President Kabimba, let's get to look at also something that has been quite topical, and I don't know when it will come to be put to rest, or maybe we have to wait until the current president leaves that office. Is the issue of the president's residence in this case is not housed at Nkwazi House, and that in itself has been a topical issue. We don't know what our law says about where the president is supposed to stay.
There is no specific law that says that the president must stay in Nkwazi House. There's no law like that. Okay. He can squat even in Chipata compound.
Okay.
But the convention since independence is that the president stays at Nkwazi House. The governor of Northern Rhodesia, Sir Evelyn Horn, the last governor of Northern Rhodesia, Sir Evelyn Horn, his residence is what you see as State House today, where the office of the president is. That was the residence of the governor. Okay? After 1964, Kaunda built Nkwazi House. And he started living in Nkwazi House. And the successive presidents have lived in Nkwazi House. And there are many reasons for that. Firstly, it's easy access to the office. Okay. Kaunda sometimes used to walk from Nkwazi House to the office. The president works long into the night. Not our president whenever he pa. Whenever he talk 16 hours. Whenever he report 10 hours. Okay? Men like Kaunda, they used to report, at the office at 6. Africa Mdalam office. He reads his intelligence briefing. He works late into the night. Okay? There are 2 bedrooms in Nkwazi House. There are 2 bedrooms. Such that, if the president comes back late from the office, and he doesn't want to disturb, the wife, he goes into the next bedroom. I remember when we were students at UNZA, in 1980, just shortly before we graduated, we demonstrated as students, you know, because in those days, so we had a lot of energy. So we demonstrated, you know, over Zimbabwe, you know, because we are very politically conscious. Not my students were managing when they work on my meal allowance. Meal allowance was not an issue to us. We went to State House, and KK came out, you know, to address us. And as he was addressing us, the wife walked across, you know, to him. It was about 9 hours, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. She had come from UTH where she was visiting a relative who was a patient there. You know? And then she whispered something to KK. And after she left, KK said to us, you know, I've not seen this lady for 3 days. They were in the same house. Same house. Because of the nature of the man's duties, national duties. Not masove ameniti onaya. Kusobana ugu. Kwangala ugu. This is cheap. To be honest with you. Those of us that saw how, you know, men like KK. KK told us, I've not seen my wife for 3 days. Not because the wife was spending a night somewhere, or KK was spending a night somewhere. They were in the same house. Because they would have a central committee meeting and the cabinet joint meeting running into the early hours of the morning. You can't go and walk into the bedroom where your wife is. So you go and spend. So there are a lot of advantages. Problem is that we are dealing with, you know, a young generation now that does not know the past of this country, and these things are not taught, you know, at secondary school history. We continue teaching, you know, who discovered the Victoria Falls, you know, David Livingstone, when that is not even correct. Okay? So there are advantages. The other advantage is security. Okay. The other advantage is security. Because, you know, the head of state is the embodiment of the security of this nation. So the security of the head of state is a major priority for state security. So you can't have a president using the same route every day to State House, using the same route, you know, back to Community House every day. There's no security like that.
So, but clearly, the president is not doing anything wrong. Maybe that's what we should be.
No, it's not. It's not a question of wrong or right. It's not a question of wrong or right. You know, yes, he's doing something wrong, because if something happened to him today, it can destabilize this nation. So, to that extent, he's doing something wrong. That life is no longer his life alone. Okay. Okay. It can destabilize the nation. Okay? I mean, we were told, we have read that Trump's house in Florida is far much better than the house he lived in Washington, D.C. when he was president. And Trump is a rich man. He could have decided to be flying from Florida to Washington, D.C. every day, even using his own fuel. He would have said, I don't want to live, you know, in the Oval Office, you know, at the White House. Sorry. I don't want to live at the White House. I want to live in Florida, and I'll be flying myself in a Boeing 737 to Washington, D.C. and back. He didn't do that, and he would not be allowed to do that. So it's not a question of right or wrong, or right and wrong. It's a question of, these are issues of security for the head of state. And again, I'll give you another example. The president is not in charge of his security. Takes me back to the point that I made earlier, that the problem with the state in Africa in Zambia in particular is that it is synonymous with the person who is in power. But the president is not in charge of his security. The president must listen to what the security apparatus experts say to him. He's supposed to be directed. Again, I'll give you an example. In the 1990, during the 1991, you know, when the euphoria of MMD, you know, came to the fore, the security people had reinforced KK's security. He had more security vehicles with him. And at a press conference, the problem when I church when I was fan, okay? Me had already started working. A BBC reporter asked KK and said, we see now that you have reinforced your security. Are you afraid of your life? Is your life at risk? And KK first, you know, he laughed. That lovely laughter of his. And he said, young lady, I also see the people around me, you know, bearing guns. But I don't know why they are there. I remember that answer very well from KK at a press conference. He said, I don't know why they are there. I don't even know who brings them. I don't even know what they want. So I'm just as surprised as you are. The point that KK was making was, I'm not in charge of my security. I'm not in charge. There is a system that takes care of that. Okay? That's the point he was making. So this is not manner about the right and wrong, you know, what and what. No. This is about the security system saying to the president, you know, I'll give you another example. There was a district conference, you know, for UNIP in Chongwe. Okay? Here, down. And it was held at the ZNS camp. And as the heads of department, we were asked, you know, to attend. It was compulsory anyway, not even asked. We were directed to attend. There was a guard of honor that was mounted by ZNS. Okay? And when KK came, he was wearing, you know, a deep green safari suit, which blended very well with the guard of honor. You could hardly see him. Why? Because I'm sure he must have been advised by the security people. Sir, this is what you wear for security reasons.
So, like you've said, President Kabimba, presidency, that office in itself, you know, the assistant. So meaning that, you know, the current system to the president advise him to say, well, it's okay. You can be coming from...
They don't even advise. They don't even advise. You know, they're scared of losing a job.
Okay.
They don't even advise, Mana. They don't even advise. You know, they live under the principle, what I call, keeping a job by not doing it.
Okay.
Okay? If you want to keep your job, don't do it. That's a principle that I've seen myself in the public service. If you want to keep your job, just don't do it. That's it. But there is also another fundamental, you know, or issue, which is related to this. We have heard that there is, you know, there is some infrastructure that has been added on to that house.
Okay.
It's personal house. Okay? At the expense of the state. Money from the treasury. Now, there is no law that allows the state, the treasury, to spend money on my personal property just because I've become president. So that expenditure is illegal. It is illegal today. When HH is in that house, it will be illegal when he comes out. And he runs a risk of getting that property forfeited to the state. The way this property at Arcades was forfeited to the state, which was supposed to be Chiluba's Institute for Democracy and Industrial Relations. So why do you want to be wrong when you can be right? I get surprised myself. Why do you want to be wrong when you can simply be right? Okay? So he runs. Now, when they start following him up, after that, you the same journalists, you start holding interviews. No, but why are we following up a former head of state, He's doing something wrong. Now.
So the right thing would have been him being housed at Kwasi House?
Not the right thing, the wise thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get to open up the phone lines. In case you'd love to be a part of live issues, feel free to call in on 0977-624270. That is 0977-624270 for that interaction. My guest this morning is Economic Front Party leader, President Wynter Kabimba is my guest as we are discussing pertinent issues. Let's get to hear what your thoughts are as we pick up this one here as a first caller. Good morning.
Good morning, Eugene Lungu.
Good morning to you, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Good morning, Honorable Kabimba.
Good morning, sir. Thank you.
Yet again, Mr. Kabimba, we have collided on live to FM radio. How are you, sir? I'm Kasoka, the man who called from Mtendere yesterday.
All right. Mr. Kasoka, good to have you here. Talk to us.
Yes, Mr. Kabimba, in 2011, I was there. I was quite alert when you moved the motion to remove the immunity of Lucia Banda. And from the look of things, there was a lot of objection from the MPs. And from my own observation, you didn't reach the two-thirds requirement that was supposed to be achieved. Lucia Banda removal of his immunity, I think, was done illegally. First of all, I think this is the best time now for you to tell the nation how many people were in parliament on that day and how many people voted to have the immunity removed. Let's see if it amounted to two-thirds. From my calculation, we insisted on moving the motion, even when people objected. I think you removed the motion, you removed the RB's immunity, I think on less than 100 people. I think it was 98 or so. It was far less from the two-thirds required the threshold. Mm-hmm. Now, there's another question. In my small book, I've written a book. There's a chapter I've entitled Fighting Other People's Battles. From my observation, you've been fighting Lungu's battles from way back when he was fighting Akainde. It's like the moment you mentioned that he was your classmate, Edgar Lungu was your classmate, I think the narrative has been quite funny and twisty, if you know what I mean. You see, fighting me, Edgar Lungu's battles, even when you know that he broke some of the basic principles of the Constitution. For example, when somebody is petitioned as president, he's supposed to stand aside and leave the speaker to act as president. You ignore that and simply look at it as normal. There's another provision in the Constitution which says if somebody is an MP for a constituency, for example, Lusambo was an MP for a constituency, you cannot appoint him as probation minister. You know, you cannot have MP, the like Lusambowoli, and then at the same time, I think it is Article 1010 or Article 104 somewhere there, I'll check. There were other...
Okay, I want you to be quick. You can...
Yeah, I'm concluding.
Yeah.
So in short, what I'm saying, Parliament wants to remove immunity of the president, and the same Parliament wants to restore immunity. So in short, what I'm asking, who restored this Rupiah Banda's immunity? Was Parliament convened to restore Rupiah Banda's immunity? Who restored Rupiah Banda's immunity? Did he die with his immunity removed?
Okay.
Or did he die with his immunity not removed? Or not
Mr.
restored?
Kasoka, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We appreciate you. I'll let you respond to him because he's asked a number of issues that he wants you to cover.
Look, if Mr.
Kasoka.
is writing a book, let him revise, that book. Okay? Mr. Kasoka, I hope you are listening. If you are writing that book, sir, please revise the chapters in your book because your facts are wrong. Okay? Fact number 1, which is wrong. At the time when I moved the motion to strip late President Rupiah Banda of his immunity, it didn't require a 2/3 majority. It was a simple majority. Go back to that article in the Constitution at that time. So correct that in your book, sir. Number 2, the small group of the UPND, of MMD then, and UPND walked out of Parliament. The quorum was still maintained, and the Speaker went ahead to conduct a vote. And the vote was unanimous. Correct that in your book. Fact number 3, which you need to correct, there is no constitutional provision which says if you are a member of Parliament, you can't be appointed minister the way Rusam was appointed. Wrong fact. So if you want your book to sell, please correct those facts. Thank you.
All right, 0977-624-270 is the number that you're using to get through to us. Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, thank you.
I have been always advising you, Mr. Wynter Kabimba, that when you are given chance to speak to the people,
yes,
and you are claiming that you are a leader of a political party, please something which has got substance. Now, by people in their listening, they will say, yes, this one is a political leader.
Why are you calling if what I'm saying has no substance? Why are you calling in?
How do you come? Hello?
Why are you calling in if what I'm saying has no substance? Just ignore me and get on with your work.
No, because you want to be my leader in one of these days.
Not you yourself.
Because it doesn't matter if I don't vote for you, if the majority vote for you, you'll be my president. But
exactly.
I need to guide you before you become a president.
Thank you for that confession.
You cannot come there and start talking about the HH's house. HH cannot fail to renovate his house if he managed to build all that house. How can he fail to renovate just a few things you want to put there? You have been lying to the Zambians that HH constructed a road which goes to his house. Are you sure that road is only HH that is using to treat it? Or does it end at the people? That's why
the line is breaking a bit, sir. Hello?
Yeah,
I'm saying the line is breaking slightly. Okay, you may have to call us back. I don't know because the line was...
no, I've heard what you said.
Yeah.
I've heard what you said.
All right, so if you've heard, then maybe let's pick up some more so that maybe we can have 3 in total that you can respond to.
Okay.
Hello, good morning. You're through to Live Issues. To the fair, we nomination name, eh?
Oh, we know you are the Kumira mdomine mlusaka.
Mkwaiva Leonard twamisengera mdaranda kugamba.
Ya mkwaiva President Kabimba Mushane.
Jifye wino Leonard Mushane naima.
Wino. Ine ili ashimwele na rai kushaku mwandi ne ya kukavushi kuli wa Lusambo. Ine yagama election ya aliko kulia abantu alivotere vavota vyapite ma election. Manje iti alengere kwa tifoti ube amavoti uli omuntu bamufumyepo papepa filio ukusangwa po. Ishimo mwasimono kwa jiva mpokeleze kumakano loyali mavoti fayazo na kule kwa corruption lolipimbi. Bipindu mweba liko kuntashawa upakoma government mwalikwata kwa experience ya kweba ko abantu ifi akuchida. Basi chitipani na muna kwa ifi tekeleza kwa ifi amfulope feka tulozele pali ule mnando wali kukoti bakoti kwa sababu lingiro kwa tibeyiminina bana ndira chikuchiwa kwa tesambu ya kwimina twakisa muna ba president wena ba tsinza kumaka nokwisa chama koti kulya ukubika kwa muntu wabo tulozele yiko kwino pali umlandi na tetera mkwa.
Thank you, Leonard, to Tashamkwai for that submission there. Let's bring in one more call, then we can put a halt to the calls as I allow my guests to respond to your submissions. Good morning. Yes, good morning. We can hear you. Good morning. Yes, sir.
Yes,
we can hear you, sir.
Thank you. Honorable Wynter Kabimba, good morning.
Oli bwanji.
Yes, Uncle Joe, please go ahead with your submission.
Wynter Kabimba, you know, one problem that you have, you can't support anything that someone does. That's the main problem. And you don't have that opportunity or that chance to advise your colleagues. What you are there for is condemn. That's what you only know. You just condemn and condemn. You even know, I even know that you are a small leader that leading a small group of people in this country. And you never be the president, and you even know yourself that you never become the president of this country. Now, instead of advising your colleagues, you know, acting presidency, by doing that thing. So, not trust the Karamba square, the trust Mulim. But a good thing is that you are there as a parent. As a parent, you need to advise your colleagues. The Quiver Marine Party, Mamo, number, you start now opposing everything. So, the only thing that you know is to oppose. You don't want even to agree with your colleagues. I'm a street vendors. As you being the leader of this country, one of the leaders of this country, try to advise these people. You even don't incite violence. You incite violence by saying, hey, in your regime, did you manage to employ all of them? You can't manage. They won't have engaged. If you result with another talanta, have a good business, they won't win the
I kindly conclude.
In conclusion. Nangukula sungu kwine. Brother Zina Mauntaka. You can't manage to employ all of them. Even in your under your regime when you are in government. Did you employ all the street vendors? These street vendors were there in Kaunda, were there in MMC, were there in PF. They are still there, they will still be there. So let's learn to advise one another, not to incite violence. So these people praise against the government, against the what? So I raise my case. I'm listening to you, Mr. Wynter Kabimba. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Uncle Joe, for your submission. President Kabimba, I'll bring you in based on those allegations there.
Well, just tell your Uncle Joe that if he doesn't understand English very well, he should just own up. Uncle Joe, waliba pamene nakamba hapa ukamba kuti sinakambe ku za road ya zamene yenda kuli echechi tani ndamba magani amugwa go unka kuli echecha I've not incited anybody. Chamene nakamba ni ukamba kuti HH mwine mukamwa kake anakamba ati ine nikabwera ine imwe monse muzankhala na ntchito. Anali kuzenguluka nakapamera kaunga ati muvutika maningi mu PF. Ine nikabwera ine muzambo kola 25 kg. Munali kumvera ba ati bana brother Joe. Uncle Joe. Excuse. Munali kumvera mweka. Anali ukamba kamwa kake. Sindi naye kumumanga kamwa or kumusegula kamwa. So why are you blaming me today? Why are you blaming me today? What wrong have I done? I'm just reminding the man about what he himself voluntarily said as an adult when he was campaigning. Street vendors wanaliko under MMD. But anakamba bwanje efe. Nisaba nikakupa sani nchito. That's what he promised them. And they are waiting for those jobs as they are street vending. So, it is you that are supporting him that are supposed to go and advise him. Please do the man a favor. That is how they used to praise sing ECL. Just like that. There were other, Uncle Joes like you under PF. Go and advise the man. Because you are speaking for yourself. You may be even speaking from a tribal angle. There are other people out there that are going hungry and they are not happy with the UPND regime. And whether or not I become president is neither here nor there. One thing that is fundamental is that I'm a citizen of this country. I'm a citizen of this country. I'm a shareholder of this country. And I don't want to be governed by somebody who is wrong, even if I'm not president. And that I'll talk. At least you've said that I've got a small following. At least you have considered. That is important. I thought you were going to say I'm just alone with my wife. So, you, the praise singers of HH, do him a favor and tell him the truth. Don't allow him to walk around like a naked emperor. Because you'll be the ones that are killing the man. And if you continue like that, HH won't go beyond 2026. That I can tell you.
All right. Let's see if we can allow some few more calls before we get to the end of the program. 0977-624-270. Be as brief as possible as you get through on the line. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Is that live radio?
Yes, you're through to live radio, sir. Who do we have on the line?
You have Mr. Nsensema.
Mr. Nsensela.
Nsensema, sir.
Nsensema, good to have you here. Where are you calling us from, sir?
I'm calling you from Kitwe.
Okay, talk to us.
Mwachimka chani mkwai.
Nisho ino Nsensema mulishani.
Mkwai. Awe twatota patana mbotofio mulepela advice kuliba HH ba Wynter. You know, history you are very good. Because when you are a leader, you need to sit down and begin to think if you fit to share it.
Yes.
That advice you have given here to Tila, is very true. You are actually showing love to the president right now. I hope the interviewer there will keep that on record so that if the man has a problem with another leader that is going to come into power, with that house where some other features there. The road has been touched there, and many security features could have been put in that house. We hope he's listening so that he doesn't have a problem in the future. Now, let me talk about that person who has the land that will always be there. Like the land of very poor. Okay? Like with him, he doesn't even care if you're President Valelaya. Because the president basically promised a number of things. And when we go for him to account for his promises, People are calling you, Mr. Kabimba, to be very jealous. You are not jealous, sir. Today, the price of meal meal is fetching 250 kwacha in other parts of the country. But the man has to have a bag of meal at, I don't know if it is 50 kwacha. Now, when we ask him, let's say you will 50 kwacha, they are saying you are jealous. Now, keep on talking for the Zambian people. You are the only voice who is very objective, who is very honest, very experienced, because you cannot leave this country without looking at where you are coming from. Okay, State House was created for the president to be staying in State House, and now for somebody just to come and say, me, I will not be staying in State House. Like you are even insulting other people that just used to be staying in that State House. So thank you so much, Mr. Kabimba. You are very objective. You are the most experienced leader that you have in this country. And that is the leader who is very honest. Okay? From the time you left government, Mr. Kabimba, we've never heard of you being followed by ACC. That means you conducted yourself very objectively. We have never heard you being followed by the Drug Enforcement Commission that you have stolen what and what from this country. Such kind of people, you are the people that this country needs. The country that has passion for the people of Zambia. The country, the people, the president that believes in the Zambian people, that they can run their own affairs. Not really the president that we are seeing that are always looking up to the outside world to always get the support. The last company that I want you, Mr. Kabimba, to talk about is 188 million that has been given by the IMF, the disbursement. Now, it makes me so shameful, Mr. Kabimba. We are clapping for 188 million so far that has been disbursed by IMF. The money that we can still raise from the small-scale mining sector in this country, because we have a lot of mineral resources in this country. We have got switch line, we have got gold, we have got manganese that can easily be extracted by our own people to even raise that 188 million. Now we are always needing every time ball and hand to the IMF. What is 188 million compared to the resources that we have in this country? The gold, the switch lines, and a lot of mineral resources that is not being exploited by the Zambian people, but we are going to the IMF. We do not know why the UPN and the plan that they have on these small-scale mining sectors. We do not know the plan that they have on Switzerland. We do not know the plan that they have on gold. But they are busy going out there to beg 188 million from IMF. Thank you so much, Mr. Kabimba. May God bless you.
We appreciate your submission, Mr. Hansi, all the way from Kitwe. Let's bring in the last three voice notes that I have received via WhatsApp this morning. Obviously, we wouldn't be doing justice if we left our friends on WhatsApp hanging without obviously being heard. Let's start with this one here.
Mr. Kabimba, thank you for correcting me, just the previous caller. You know, there are people that just like talking just because they have to talk. Thank you for correcting all those, because even there are other people out here who are also saying, but you know what this man is saying is wrong. Thank you for correcting all those. Indeed, we've never seen such clauses where say a sitting MP of the constituency cannot be appointed as a provincial minister. You know, that is very wrong. That is very wrong. People must not just wake up from their blankets and come and mislead the people. If they want to please their party or their leadership in the party, please let them first get facts.
Good morning, Live Radio, and good morning, Wynter Kabimba. Wynter Kabimba, you have never loved the president from the time he was in opposition. Wynter Kabimba, you can never say anything good about the president because you hated them ever since. So just stay back. We don't want your advice. We don't want anything because the president won with the majority without your vote, without your members' vote. So there's nothing sinister that you can say on the president as good thing that he have done. So are you telling us that there's nothing that the president has done? Look at the CDF. We have broadened CDF. All members of parliament, they can now utilize that CDF. Even in PF, we have members of parliament like Kanchibia, and we have a lot of people that are benefiting from CDF. Look at the restatement of or introduction of meal allowances in government training institutions. All that you cannot see. Look at the free education from grade 8, which has been introduced to grade 12. Are you telling us that you're blind? Wynter Kabimba, sober up with my big man. Come and bring alternative ideas. Zambians now have awakened up. They are looking for a opposition that can give alternative, not hate speech, no. So what we are saying is that you can never appreciate the president and be it to you, because we don't want your advice. Let the president work. Yes, the issue of mid-meal, it will be sorted out. All of us, we are feeling the impact, but that you cannot campaign the president over the issue of mid-meal. So watch and see the 1 million different votes that we amassed in 2026. I'm telling you, it will be 5 million. Watch and see. This is Zambia. I'm telling you, opposition, you have nothing to offer. So just be the way you are. We don't want your advice. This is comment from Mrs. here. Thank you.
Good morning, my best man Eugene, and good morning, President Wynter Kabimba. President Wynter Kabimba, you are a blessing to this country. Why I'm saying so? Because you have got full of wisdom and knowledge, so to say. We don't have politicians in this country who thinks like you. That is the problem that we have in this country. It is my prayer that we can have politicians who thinks like you, then we are going to have a better Zambia. Because this is our country. What is going on in this country right now with this government of UPND and President HH is a terrible, to be honest with you. Today I was passing a town. I find lot of officers, police officers with guns and so on and so forth, removing vendors without any notice. And those people, they are preparing now to start paying to marenti twao kumanyumba and so on and so forth. And this time, which is very bad. President Wynter Kabimba, we need you in this country that you can save us. You can save us to this UPND government. We need you. We need your leadership, so to say, because President HH, he has failed completely. Look at the price of meal. Look at the price of fuel. They promise us heaven and earth, but what they are doing right now is terrible. It's wrong. We are dying with this government of UPND and President HH. Mr. Kabimba, help us. You have got experience in this politics, Vamdala. You are a man. You are a man. I know that UPND guys, they are going to call and they start telling you, hey, what, don't worry about UPND. Those are pressing us. Na beve wagona njala. Like the way bandivutika life, and they banavutika na beve. But they want to show like they are supporting and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, they are crying. We are behind you, Mr. President Kabimba. God bless you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much to all those that reached out on us using the WhatsApp platform as well. We had to give you, an opportunity to be heard as well. President, I'll let you respond to those, and we can call it a wrap today.
Well, thank you very much, Eugene. I think the bottom line is this. So our colleagues in the UPND, thank you very much for those that have followed this program and agree with my views on many of the issues. I don't expect everybody to agree with me. This is a democracy. But when you start calling on me, to love HH, you're talking to a wrong man. I don't have to love I don't have to fall in love with the president. No, that's not even the 2.8 million people that voted for him. It was not out of love. They voted for him because he promised to come and improve their livelihood. That's why they voted for him. They didn't vote for him out of affection. Okay. If what I'm saying is not enough advice, or to HH, then you should to no. That's what the members say. Because I think I'm rendering very honest and unreserved piece of advice to HH. And I'm saying that I've seen these things before. I've seen these things before. I'm not of this generation. I've seen these things before. And I can tell you, without being a papa, I know how he may end up. I know how he may end up if he doesn't take corrective measures, learning from history. So I like, what Comrade Nsensema said, that keep this clip so that in future I can come back and say, I said it. I warned this man. I cautioned him. And he didn't want to listen. There's a very interesting book which has been written by, which is a biography on Richard Nixon. And I like the title. It's entitled The Arrogance of Power. That's the title of that book. The Arrogance of Power. Because President Nixon of the United States, when he became president, he became arrogant with power in his hands. It's a beautiful biography which people like HH should read. The Arrogance of Power. Okay, and when you have power in your hands and you become arrogant, Nixon ended up, in trouble. Everybody that has power in their possession and they have been arrogant, they have ended up in trouble. So, if you, my colleagues, my dear brothers, and sisters in the UPND, think that I don't like HH, I'm probably the one who likes him more than you. Because we are leading him into the ditch, and I'm trying to get him out of that ditch. So, this is my last comment, Eugene. Thank you very much for the invite extended to EF. I was telling my colleagues that are seated with me here that I almost changed my mind because I was working up to 01:30 this morning. I'm writing a book myself, my memoir, with better facts than Mr. Kasoka.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I hope you can read my book.
What would be the title, if I may ask? Or maybe you prefer to keep it...
I don't want to give you the title now because you may not buy it. So I'll wait until...
Okay.
I'll come and launch it on this program.
Awesome.
Yeah.
President Kabimba, thank you so much. We appreciate you
Thank
being a part of Live Issues today. There we go. We come to the end of today's edition of Live Issues. I trust and believe that you've enjoyed every bit of our discussion this morning. You do well to join me on Thursday, God willing, when we do get to make a return for another interesting edition from 9 all the way to 10:30 hours right here on the Green Station. I say you do have a fantastic Tuesday and keep listening to Live Radio. The Green Station is bye-bye for now.